Welcome to this video about close reading, and you'll notice the sources for my slideshow on the right here. One is the Lehman and Roberts text, which is reading for our course, and the other is the Boyles article, which is also part of our course. Two other articles by Katie Beers and Fisher and Fry were not included in our course readings, though I think they might be recommended. So where does close reading come from? It's really like analytic reading. And analytic reading kind of fell out of favor for the last 25 years or so. And I don't recall being taught it myself, and I haven't been using it in my methods courses. So a contribution that the Common Core has made is the idea of close reading. The best source on close reading that I know prior to the Common Core was a book by Adler, and it was called How to Read a Book. He was a British author, and this is a nice visual, and I don't recall where I got it from. So you can see standard one in Common Core is reading closely. Interestingly, another major shift in literacy instruction is standard one in writing, which is writing with evidence. So I skimmed through our textbook, chapters 1 and 2, for its discussion of of close reading. And I like the ideas on page 5, and because there's been a lot of criticism about close reading, so they raise some guiding principles about it that keep in mind when you use it in your teaching. So close reading should raise enjoyment and engagement and joy with our students when they think about reading, so it shouldn't make reading tedious and work. The purpose of close reading, or one of the goals, is to help students become independent. It's only one piece of our reading instruction. So we've already studied guided reading, so close reading is another way of presenting text to students. To use close reading, you really need to allow extended times for them to read and study a text. Close reading needs to be practiced. And close reading is intended to meet students' needs for understanding a text. And so it's designed to be tailored to fit their needs. So what is close reading? It's to uncover layers of meaning that lead to deep comprehension. It's engaging with a text of sufficient complexity directly and examining it thoroughly, methodically. So this was the one, I think last week, you had the assignment, text complexity assignment, and there's some controversy about that, but I won't sidestep there right now. Close reading involves reading and rereading and enables students to reflect on the meanings of individual words, sentences, and texts. The arguments for close reading are that one is that critics, mostly conservative critics, politically conservative people, said we veered off track and we're allowing too many personal connections, text to text, self and the world. They also, I think they're incorrect here, that we've been focusing on strategic reading in our literacy instruction. And the critics argue that thinking of reading as thinking strategies is missing what information is in a text. I'm not so sure if that argument is so strong. And then critics also argued that images that popped into our heads in random questions did little to enhance the understanding of a text, particularly of what an author intended. And Common Core and the critics of contemporary approaches to literacy argued that personal response didn't lead to deeper understanding. Again, that's subject to debate. P. David Pearson's a major researcher in literacy education, and so he says that perhaps as a profession we've overindulged at the trough of prior knowledge, and the remedy is to balance its role, not eliminate it. So that's a bit of a half step, from personal response to close reading. So I kind of agree with that. Sometimes the meaning is in the text and other times it's prior knowledge. So you should teach students different ways to analyze a text or respond to a text. So where does close reading come from? What's its theoretical foundation? A few of you in our course are English majors, so you might know new criticism theory. And I believe new criticism theory argues that meaning's right in the text. It's what the author said. So years ago, it was Robert Frost had the poem walking in the woods on a snowy evening, and he came to a fork in the path, and whether to go to left or to right. So some critics would argue that, that's very Freudian or Marxist, whatever it would be. But new criticism theory says you have to just look at the text and don't overinterpret it. Louise Rosenblatt, I think I've discussed her in course a little bit. So she's reader response, text to text, self and world. And then when you're doing close reading, you don't come in with a lens and impose it on the text. You look for data in the text or evidence. So you don't come in with a Marxist or feminist or a sociological perspective on a text. You try to read a text for the information that's in it rather than imposing a frame. So the assumption is that it's an objective analysis of a text, and the idea finally is meaning is in the text, it's self-contained. So this comes from the Fisher and Fry article. Usually, close reading's done with a short passage, multiple readings, begins with text-dependent questions, so you know what's in the text, and then you move from the literal to the inferential or critical. An essential part of close reading is discussion. So we have one activity related to close reading, and it's with the music video. So I set you up in groups to do that. And this number 5 is a little bit controversial. There's an expectation that students will struggle, and that's necessary for learning to occur. So I think we'll best discuss that in class. And at the end of close reading, there's a product. There's a critical analysis of the text. There's a summary of the text, and so on. So the elements of a close reading require the use of a complex piece of text that's understood through multiple readings and text-dependent questions to foster rich discussion. The purpose and motivation for engaging repeated readings can come from well-designed questions that cause students to look back into the text. Text-dependent questions should not just be literal. They might begin there, but they'll become a higher level thinking. And discussion plays a very important role. And here's the general protocol or ideas about it. This kind of repeats. Very little front loading, which is different than guided reading. An initial reading of the text, so a beginning reading, and then multiple readings, including annotations, questions, comments that a reader might put in the text about language, vocabulary, sentences, and extended peer discussions. And so, Chapter 2 of the text, Falling in Love with Close Reading, suggests that you can do close reading of media. So last year the video Happy was very popular, and there's so many different versions on YouTube. So I would like you to view Happy. I have a particular link here I'd like you to use. And the same link also appears in the discussion board. And then participate in the discussion board. I also posted the lyrics to our discussion board, as well as you can see them here. So I'd like you to participate twice in the discussion. And you might, the first time I'd like you to talk about what you think Williams means by the video, what message he's conveying, and then analyze the video for its lyrics, the visuals, and actual music, and what points of view are repeated, what techniques are used, are there counter arguments pertaining to the video. And that will be it. All right, so the final slide here is, we want to create close readers who are independent. We need to explicitly teach them how to approach a text to uncover its multiple layers of meaning. So I hope this video was helpful and you enjoy participating in the discussion board about the Williams